All right, welcome to the next video in our For and Against series. Today we are doing Iron Man. I'm super excited for this. A lot of people love Iron Man. I was kind of against him because he's more of a build out hero. He's really rough to do in solo, but um I've taken some different builds with him. I've tried some different things and they actually work out pretty well. So we're going to talk a bit about that. Again, we're just going to be giving my opinion on all his cards right now, some build ideas I have with him, some things I like about him, don't like about him, and give him like a review, right? Make an argument for and against him, trying to be as objective as humanly possible with him. So let's go take a look at the cards in his deck. But before we do, really quick, if you have rules questions, if you want to talk more about Marvel Champions or Marvel Legendary or Lorcana, whatever it may be, the link to my Discord is down below in the description. Make sure to go check it out. It's a great time. It's a lot of fun. We have a really great community there. So definitely go check on that link and join our Discord. Let's go look at some cards. All right, let's jump into Tony Stark. 3 recovery, 6 hand size, 9 hit points. Fine hand size, kind of low on the recovery. 9 hit points is really low, but we are going to be able to bump that up later on, so we'll get into that. That's fine. Now, the futurist ability is interesting, and he's a genius trait too, which is also kind of important. For the futurist ability, you get an action of look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 to your hand, and discard the others. Limit once per round. Now, what's interesting about this is you have cards like Digging Deep now, where it's a resource card. And after this card is discarded, look at the top card of your deck and add it to your hand. So if you threw away 2 Digging Deeps, right, you can now add them to your hand plus whatever the other card is, which helps a lot. You could do the same with White Fox too. After White Fox is discarded from the top of your deck, put her into play under your control. Again, if you discard her from the Futurist ability, she would now come into play, which is really, really cool. So the genius trait is good. I didn't put up the card yet, but here it is. Ingenuity is a 2-cost upgrade. Play only of the genius trait, maximum per player. Exhaust ingenuity to generate a mental resource. The mental resource part is the important part, and we'll get into that later. But it is worth throwing in ingenuity into your deck. It's going to help a ton. Get that card in there. Okay, so Iron Man is a 2/1/1 stat line. He drops down to a 1 hand size, which is comical, and you get +1 hand size for each tech upgrade, maximum 7 hand size, and that's where this becomes interesting. So the rough part with Iron Man, I feel like a lot of his games are decided within the first 2 rounds. If you can survive the first 2 rounds, because you're probably gonna have to stay down for a round, maybe 2. If you can survive that long, you're probably good. If you can't, things are going to get really rough. And the reason being is because you would like to play all these other things, but you have to play tech upgrades because you have to make that hand size at least to like 4 or 5 so you can flip up, and then you can kind of keep going from there. If you can't get to 4 or 5, it's going to be a really rough time. Now, his deck itself comes with a bunch of tech upgrades, but the way people have kind of improved upon this, or to hedge their bets, I guess, is to play like a protection deck where they use Energy Bearer. Energy Bearer is a protection card, 2-cost upgrade. It's a tech card, uses 3 reflection counters. It's interrupt. When you would take any amount of damage, remove 1 reflection counter from here, prevent 1 of that damage, and deal 1 damage to an enemy. Again, tech upgrade. You could stack multiples of these. Really cool. I have also started using Plasma Pistol, which is a 2-cost upgrade basic card. It is restricted, so you can only have 2 on the table, but uses 3 charge counters. Hero action, exhaust Plasma Pistol, remove 1 charge counter from it, deal 1 damage to enemy. It's not an attack. It deals damage, so you can get retaliated. Important to note. I really couldn't stand playing Iron Man in the protection aspect only, right? One of the things I don't like is playing a hero only in one aspect. I want them to be able to work in a lot of different aspects. If you use Plasma Pistol, he will work in any aspect. It might be a little tough now and again, but he will work in any aspect. You don't have to play him in green all the time. I know a lot of us get kind of caught in this trap of it makes the most sense because the most tech upgrades belong in protection. Some aspects I believe don't even have any. But because of Plasma Pistol, you should be all right. It's a decent enough card to get out there, but it helps with his hand size and all that fun stuff. So once you kind of get over that fear, you'll be good to go. But I really do feel like if you're going to be losing with Iron Man, it's going to happen in the first 2 rounds because you can't put out allies to help like reduce the threat or anything like that. You can't put out justice cards to lower or to thwart or, upgrade supports to raise the threshold of main schemes or whatever. You can't do any of that. He's obviously a stronger multiplayer hero, but he still works really well in solo, assuming you get past those first 2 rounds. That's the tough part of this. So All right, let's dive into his cards a bit and talk a bit about them. His signature ally is War Machine. It's a 4-cost ally, 1/2/4 stat line. Action, exhaust War Machine and deal 2 damage to him, deal 1 damage to each enemy. As a solo player, I rarely use this card. As a multiplayer, it deals 1 damage to each enemy. Not each enemy engaged with you or each enemy on your section of the table or something like that. Each enemy. That means if you are dealing with a 4-player game with a ton of minions out there, like War Machine is going to do work, right? He's going to do straight up work. Makes a lot more sense to use him. He's not going to get retaliated because it's dealing damage. It's not an attack. So War Machine is able to do a lot of things in a high multiplayer game. In a solo game, I don't really see him being as useful. It's not that he's not useful, but it's just not as useful. But to clear out a board in a 4-player game, massive. 3-player game, massive. 2-player game, you kind of make the decision on that. If you're playing Ultron or something like that, then yeah, it makes a lot more sense. All right, Repulsor Blast is a superpower card. So if you want to use something like Def Focus, it's a 1-cost basic upgrade skill. Exhaust Def Focus to reduce the resource cost to play the next superpower card. You play by this turn by 1. That is an option you can do with Repulsor Blast. You can decide if you want to run a card like Def Focus. I don't know, maybe you do. So it's a 1-cost event, an attack event. Hero action, deal 1 damage to an enemy and discard the top 5 cards of your deck. For each printed energy resource discard this way, deal 2 additional damage. Now, people have done strategies where they just load up on energy resources in their deck. You can do it. I've gotten away from that. Because, okay, yes, it can be a 1/11 damage card, which is bonkers, right? That's bonkers strong. The math there is insane. So yes, you can do that. It could be crazy strong. If I just get 1/6 or I guess 5 damage, 1/5, I'm really happy with that, right? So if I just flip over 2 of the 5 cards as energy resources, yeah, I'm really happy with that. That's a really strong deck. And plus, again, I'd rather be able to put in not that one. Like Digging Deep, right? And oh no, White Fox's energy, but Digging Deep, I think that's a good card with Futurists. So I do want to get that, like cards like that in play. And again, I'd be able to discard that card. Okay, it's not a printed resource, so it wouldn't count for the damage, but I'd be able to hopefully play another card moving forward. I think there's more value in that, like playing more cards than just having a bunch of energies that maybe don't make sense. So you kind of decide what's best for you in that situation. But Repulsor Blast, if I get 1/5 damage, I'm really happy with that. Overall. Now his next card is there's also 3 of those in this deck. 2, 4, 5 or 2, 3, 4 cards are Repulsor Blast. All right, so his other big attack is Supersonic Punch. There's 2 of them in the deck, 2-cost event. You deal 4 damage to enemy, 8 if you have aerial. And this is why it's important to get Ingenuity. And we'll get into that in a second, but Ingenuity is going to help with this a lot. 2 for 8. If 3 for 8 is the standard, 2 for 8 is bonkers good. Repulsor Blast could be stronger, but this is really good. Or can be really good. Love this card. As long as you have the aerial trait, we'll get into that in a little bit with his upgrades and stuff, but very strong card. Pepper Pot's one of my favorites. Persona card, 3-cost support. It's a bit expensive, but if you exhaust Pepper Pot to generate the resources on the top card of your discard pile. Hey, if the top card of your discard pile is a double resource card, she can generate 2 resources. It's incredibly strong. Now, I don't prioritize her in the beginning because I need to get upgrades out first and foremost. So I'm hoping I get her late deck. But if I do, then she has to hit the table because she will pay for herself so quickly. You just have to pay attention to the cards you put in your discard pile, right? Pay attention to how you do things in order of operations. But once you do it, it's incredibly, so good. She's so incredibly strong. So big fan of Pepper Potts. All right, Stark Tower, 2-cost support location. It's an alter ego action. Exhaust Stark Tower, choose a player. That player returns the topmost tech upgrade in their discard pile to their hand. As a solo player, I'm always going to choose myself, obviously. And it's a nice way that if I got rid of a plasma pistol, because I used the last charge counter on it, to easily get it back in my hand to play it again, right? That is an option that you could do. Or if you had to discard upgrade or support you control from like Caught Off Guard or something like that, you flip down, you can get it back. This is a card I'm playing later on, but I do like this card. It has definite value to help get some of those tech upgrades out there, but it's really being used for me for plasma pistols to kind of keep that engine going. All right, Arc Reactor, our first tech upgrade we're going to talk about. It's a 2-cost upgrade. You exhaust Arc Reactor to ready up Iron Man. Incredibly strong. Again, gives him that 1 extra hand size, but more importantly, I can thwart 2 with Iron Man and then exhaust this to thwart 2 again. Or, you know, if I'm on alter ego side, exhaust to recover, flip up to hero, exhaust this to ready him up, and then thwart for 2 because I was just an alter ego. Really strong, really good. Really love this card. So big fan. This is a card I'm going to try to get out early on because the thwart 4 for each round in solo is massive. Absolutely massive. All right, Mark 5 armor, 3 cost upgrade, tech again. You get 6 hit points, brings his total hit point count up to 15, which is bonkers strong. Really strong stuff. So yes, I would like to get the armor out. It's one of the later things I do because it's really expensive, and if I have a large hand size, it's easier to get that into play. But early on, you know, it might be a little tough. So, but great card. Will help you with the fact that you're not going to heal for much. You also put like an endurance into play, which gets you 3 extra health, right? You're sitting at 18 health as Iron Man. Like, you're cruising. You're absolutely cruising. So, all right, the helmet is an interesting card. So it's a 1 cost upgrade. Tech again, armor tech. Exhaust the helmet to remove 1 threat from a scheme, or each scheme if you have the aerial trait. Now, it's worth playing even if there's not many side schemes out there, because you are adding to your hand size 1, but 2, just removing threat each round by just exhausting it is incredibly nice. And if you need to do it, if you're confused, you exhaust the helmet to remove 1 threat, and then now Iron Man can thwart 2, and then ready him up and thwart 2 again, right? Unless you have a ton of side schemes out there where you need to remove threat from all of them, then, you know, that'd be the only difference. So, great card, assuming you have the aerial trait. We'll get into that in a second, but good card for that. Helping clear confuse is really strong, but being able to remove threat from each scheme is really, really nice. All right, so power gauntlets. 2 cost upgrade, tech, exhaust, deal 1 damage. Not that great, but dealing 2 damage with the aerial trait is pretty good. There are 2 of these cards, right? There's 1 helmet, 2 hands, obviously. What's nice about this is that dealing 2 damage and then 2 damage, as long as you're not getting retaliated, really good. Really like this because all I have to do is exhaust, do it, and I'm good to go. Again, increases the hand size as well. All this stuff kind of adds up. So now each round without an attack card, I'm dealing 4 damage. I'm able to exhaust the thwart for 2, ready up, exhaust thwart for 2, use the helmet, thwart for another 1. So I'm each round thwarting 5, dealing 4 damage without playing a single card from my hand. Right? That's what makes Iron Man incredibly strong once you're built out. All right, rocket boots. These are the key thing to add to his deck. This is like one of the first tech upgrades I want. The +1 hit point is fine. You get 2 of these in your deck. So again, if we were at 15, 16, 17, 18 with endurance and reactor, the armor, we got 2 more hit points from this, which would bring up 20 life, which is just a bonkers amount of life. But you can exhaust the boots to spend an aerial resource or a mental resource, to gain the aerial trait until the end of the phase. Now, there are aerial cards, like you could use Dive Bomb or different things like that that can be really, really strong. But even if you don't use any of that, just to use this for the power gauntlets and for the helmet makes it worth it, right? Makes it way worth it. So basically the way I run things now is I have Ingenuity. I just exhaust Ingenuity to do one of the aerial boots. Hopefully I'll get both of them out there at some point, but even if it's just one, that's okay. It's a cheap upgrade, which also gets us to help with the amount of cards we can draw, right? So you want at least 6 upgrades out there. This could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have 7 options to try to get us up to 6 upgrades essentially. Plus then if you use the plasma pistol is 10 options. But anyway, I want those boots out there early because being able to get the aerial trait to help the gloves and the helmet is massive. It's really strong. It's really good. Again, you got to kind of get that puzzle going, but my priority generally is the boots first, then like the gauntlets and the helmet next, and then double up on them. And then I'm trying to get the arc reactor and the armor and stuff like that. And then once you're built out, you're pretty good. So I think with the inclusion of the plasma pistol, the aspect you play Iron Man could almost be any aspect now. Now, again, I know we all like to go back to protection because it's very simple and straightforward and there's a lot more options. But if you have 10 of your 40 cards being tech upgrades, you're probably good, right? Realistically, you're probably good that you're getting enough upgrades or tech upgrades out there to kind of get yourself going. Hopefully, unless somehow they're all stacked on the bottom. But you are hopefully doing all right then. So as far as the arguments for Iron Man, once he's built out, right? Once he's built out, he's incredibly strong. Again, If I have the Ingenuity build with the boots to get aerial, I'm removing 1 threat off of all schemes. I am dealing 4 damage, and I am exhausting Iron Man to thwart for 2, readying him up, exhausting him again, thwart for another 2. 5 threat removal, 4 damage without playing a single card in the late game. And having 20 health if you do it with endurance. It's really good, right? That's really good, really strong stuff. If you have Plasma Pistol out there as one of your tech upgrades, which hopefully you would, you exhaust each one of them to deal 1 damage to an enemy, not an attack, so you won't get retaliated, but dealing that damage, the extra 2 damage. Well, now we're looking at, what was I said, 5 threat removal, 4 attack. So now we're looking at 5 threat removal, 6 attack. If you have Pepper Pots out there, you're generating the top card of your discard pile, which at worst is probably 1. Hopefully it's around 2, to help play for one of your big attack cards, like that superpower punch or supersonic punch card, right? So if you're aerial from before, and I'm able to just exhaust Pepper to use the resources on the double in the discard pile to play supersonic punch, which is one of my 7 cards in hand. I play that 1, so I still have 6 cards left over, and I just dealt 8 damage on top of the 5, or I'm sorry, on top of the 4 or 6 I just did the previous, or the right before that. Like, this gets really bonkers really fast, right? And that does not include Repulsor Blast, which at best does 11 damage. Usually for me ends up doing like 3 to 5 damage, which I'm still really happy with a 1 cost. Again, the argument for Iron Man is once he's built out, he is crazy strong. He's crazy strong. The issue is once he gets built out, right? You have to get to that point first and foremost. And one of my things I argued against him for early on was, again, I felt like you got pigeonholed in protection. I no longer feel that way. I think I just really wanted to make sure I had tech upgrades, and I wasn't prioritizing the tech upgrades like I should have been. As long as you have Plasma Pistol in there, and if they come out with anything else later on, or if there's something I'm forgetting about, they might be worth taking a second look for basic cards. But he really does work well in any aspect, and that's a huge thing in my opinion. It's really nice to see that. So for a solo player, and even for multiplayer, the issue with Iron Man is the first couple of rounds, because even in multiplayer, you're going to be a drain on the team, where it's like, hey, other people are starting to do things and really build out and like get their engines going, and you're just trying to like hang on, right? You're just adding threat to that main scheme. Obviously, in the multiplayer game, it's not as bad with keeping threat or getting threat in the main scheme because it's a higher threshold, but still, it's a drag on the team. It makes things a bit harder, and getting him up and going is going to take a bit. Once you do, I think he's one of the strongest heroes in the game. The problem is that curve to get there, right? That part's really tough. So that's my overall take with Iron Man. I'm happy I've given him a second or third look at this point. I was so worried about the protection thing. I really can't stress this enough, because I feel like this is still a talking point in the community, that people are like, only play Iron Man in protection. You could do him in any aspect. It works really well. But I'm happy I took another look at Iron Man. Once he's built out, he's incredibly fun. There's a lot to do. It's really, really cool. So let me know your thoughts down below, right? Let me know your thoughts. What do you like about Iron Man? What don't you like about him? Go down there, write a comment. While you're down there, make sure to like button, hit subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps out the channel. And let me know if you agree with this or not, really. Because I know some people that really hate Iron Man out there, and some people that really love Iron Man. So, but anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed this series. Hopefully we'll get another one of these videos out there real soon. And I will see you all next time.